And the correlation is that if you drive through Fort Mitchell, you will see homes that are falling apart. They approved neighborhoods like this because they knew it was an easy way to get people from Fort Benning into a house nice and cheap. And as somebody mentioned earlier, it's nothing but rental houses, most of them empty, and the property value has plummeted. So please allow people to speak. We are all here for the same reason, because we don't want this, because this is not what we want Harris County. I love rural too. But the fact is, an acre lot in a subdivision like this is more than adequate. It doesn't overstrain the system.
1 minute.
And it's not what we want.
Lloyd Beaver, West Agnes County, all right. I'm just a number.
Could you repeat your name, please?
Sure. Lloyd, L-L-O-Y-D, last name was M-U-N-E-D-D-O-U-R-N-E.
Okay, sir, and you live approximately in Capital?
18 to 20 miles out.
Okay, thank you.
I'm in West Agnes. I'm an overtime numbers guy. I try to follow the numbers, but that's probably what's going to happen. And talking to Wayne Morris with the tax office today, a $300,000 home, which is in the middle of the road, will generate approximately $3,100 in taxes. $2,000 of that will be available to the service. The cost of the county to educate us.
2 minutes.
I'm sorry?
You got 2 minutes.
Okay. The cost of the county to educate us, student, the county share is $22,462 divided by 500 students is $4,000 per year. So we're $2,000 short per student in a $300,000 house, which must be made up from somewhere. Also, on the 11 acres for commercial, you can establish any portion you want to for commercial anywhere. The trick is to get something that is viable to go there. They can turn a profit and pay it some extensions. And that's what is getting harder and harder in today's times. Let's go be seeing that. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm Leslie Robertson. I live about 6 to 9 miles from the area. I live in a David Erickson neighborhood that's
Okay, could you give us your address, please?
131 South Winsome Court. It's supposed to have a neighborhood covenant that as soon as he was done building the last house, we did not hear any response to any of our inquiries from the neighborhood regarding the head, which would be him, of the covenant. The houses that have had problems, they continue to have problems as far as how they were built. So I vote no to this being built, this neighborhood. The quantity of the houses being built in that area increasing. And again, the quality from what I've seen in the neighborhood that I live in and how they were abandoned and
2 minutes.
help.
Yes, ma'am.
Hi, my name is Leanne Ferris, F-A-R-R-I-S. I live at 3130 Tranquil Road. My husband and I are military. We just moved here a year ago. I'm from this area originally. I'm opposed to this. I taught school in Muskogee for years. I won't teach in that county anymore. We don't want that here. Nobody has mentioned who's going to fight fires in these almost 200 houses. My husband's a volunteer firefighter at Shiloh. I know how often he gets called out for places all over the county. We don't want that.
Thank you for your service.
I will. Thank you. We appreciate what you're doing, but this is not what we want Harris County to become.
Okay, approximately how far do you live?
Probably 25 miles. I'm all the way on the north end of the county.
Okay,
We do drive through there all the time. I understand the concerns about traffic. Thank you. The other thing I wanted to say is that my grandparents on the other side of my family are from New York. I spent time on Long Island. When they moved to Long Island, they had two acre minimums. My grandparents bought a house on Long Island in the 50s, 2 acres. When they died in the 90s, they were less than quarter-acre lots. The gang population and the crime rates and everything else skyrocket when you start having urban sprawl, and that's what we're talking about. Nobody wants that in Harris County, certainly not me. That's why we're retiring here as a military family, because we want to be in a rural area. We have 47 acres, and we're the small piece of property around us. We want to stay that way. So we're opposed to this development.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Madam Chairman, my name is Frank Klaus. I am a resident of Harris County. I live in Catala, 740 Gray Smoke Trail, approximately 5 miles from the coast side. And I moved to Harris County 32 years ago, and moved to Great, over in the smoke drive. And because I love the rural, I was a truck driver, and I appreciate the bees buzzing and the birds singing. And you can't hear all that when you got all that commotion going on, And that's what I'm hearing is we're coming. It's inevitable. Eventually, it's going to come. I understand it, but some of the when you talk about traffic on the road, on that road, you have to be realistic. You talk about traffic. Most of the traffic's going to be going towards Columbus. Have you ever come from Columbus at 5 in the afternoon? I mean, never mind when this place is. So, I want to keep this place rural. We moved here because we love Harris County. We love the people in Harris County. We want to support Harris County, and we appreciate the people that support us.
Yes, sir.
Madam Chairman, my name is John Gabori. I live at 4334 Hudsonville Road. Spelling of that last name is Gaboury. I live approximately 7 miles from this development. However, that's completely inconsequential. This is information you're asking people to discern how important our voice is. Well, then there is no reason to ask that piece of information. Yes, ma'am. However, I've heard a lot of people from the county say a lot of things. I've heard Mr. Erickson say a lot. The main thing I heard from Mr. Erickson was concept. As a concept, I was going to be a doctor when I was 19 years old. That concept didn't work out. I ended up in the military. I retired after 20 years in Harris County, Georgia. Why? Because we looked around for men. We saw Fort Mitchell blowing up. We saw the crime in Mississippi. We knew how far Talbot County was away. This is where we wanted to retire. I've dealt with you on issues. I appreciate all that you guys do. However, anyone in this room that's ever played Monopoly knows that the one building the house is the only one that wins. Everybody else on the board has to pay. You're expecting us to pay. You're not going to pay because there's only 5. It's everybody else. Now, the point I would bring up is the Constitution of the state of Georgia. The Constitution of the state of Georgia, Article 1, Section 2, Paragraph 1. Origin and foundation of government. All government of the right originates with the people. It is founded upon the will only and institutionalized solely for the good of the whole public. Public officers are trustees and servants of the people and are at all times amendable to them. Paragraph 5 states, when acts are void, legislative acts in violation of this Constitution or the Constitution of the United States are void. You can clearly hear by the referendum and by all the people out here, the people do not want this. Do not vote yes on this.
Good evening. My name is First Sergeant Robert H. Klein, Sr., retired after 26 years service in the military, 16 years service ROTC at Howard School.
Yes, sir, excuse me, could you please repeat your name?
Robert H. Klein, Sr.
Clerk.
Klein, C-L-I-N, Charlie Lima, India, November. My address is 167 Mustang Trail, Ellerslie, Georgia. And I'm going to be discharged with I oppose building anything by Mr. Erickson anywhere in Harris County. Why? I have been an occupant and a homeowner in one of the subdivisions that he built way back in 1996, 97. And I have some problems with him as the vice president in that subdivision. Like they said, someone said earlier, you come up there, you build and you're gone. You don't care about the community. And we had a lot of problems in the fact it was in the newspaper. And, I mean, just like this, with all the council people and stuff like that. And Mr. Harrison, I mean, he was very arrogant in his ways, and he still is. And I oppose any building, anything here in Harris County. Thank you.
Approximately a mile away from this particular development. There was a lot of facts and figures that were shared in the earlier presentation. I just wanted to point out that the University of Georgia did a study that was over 15 counties that showed in not one instance was it a positive tax gain for that county. It was actually a loss. For every dollar that was taken in, it cost the county $2.11 to service those particular developments. And the other thing I just want to point out about the traffic, on Gray Rock Road, there is a fair amount of traffic there. There's also issues with the quarry coming out. This morning, I had to dodge a rock about the size of a softball, maybe a little bit larger. So I think there's some concerns there with traffic coming in and out. And then also on Highway 27, during the peak morning hours coming into Columbus, there's a car that passes that intersection every 7 seconds. So imagine another 400 cars trying to get out. And then in the afternoons during peak hours, there's cars coming every 7 seconds as well. So I think there's some significant issues around traffic. And then you couple that with the development that's planned there for Highway 27, I think that's going to be a nightmare for the residents in that area. So I respectfully ask that you decline the change in zoning. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else on this?
My name is Nancy Clark, C-L-A-R-K. I live at 12905 Georgia Highway 103, 20 miles away. We've heard a lot of numbers and talked about taxes and schools and traffic. I think the real subject here should be the vision we have for Harris County. I think it's a way of life that we're talking about, not so much numbers and figures and traffic. I'd like to ask you to vote no on this proposal. I'd like to see Harris County remain a rural area where our children can roam and play freely, go to school and don't worry about it so much. And I just want to say, please vote no.
My name is Hannah McGee, H-A-N-N-A-H, M-C-G-H-E-E, and I live at 121 Palmetto Creek Lane, PAL, and UTTO. In Hamilton, I live approximately 16 miles from this location. Thank you. I just want to say, I'm a proud Harris Countyan. I graduated from Harris County in 2018. It's probably strange, a 19-year-old coming up here and speaking, but honestly, I don't want to might implode like Columbus. It's so crazy that the fact that when I had children one day, that they could one day not have the experiences to, play in the woods out behind their house because there's some name close to their neighbor that can literally look through their window and see them. Like, that's just ridiculous. That's ridiculous. So, another thing is traffic. It's crazy. So I live in Hamilton, and I am...
2 minutes.
Thanks for listening. Appreciate you. I'm a sophomore. I'm a sophomore at CSU, so I drive at least 30 to 40 minutes each day. And I've had to add more time on my travel time because of all the traffic. And if we build this vision, I guess that's what you want to call it, then that's just going to be more traffic. And that's just ridiculous. Like today, I was driving from Columbus to Hamilton, and it took me forever to get here. Like, that's just ridiculous. And another thing is, my junior year of high school, a teacher told me we are 200 or so students over capacity. That was 2 years ago. So just think about all the children that come in, and if you build this, we're already going to be over capacity. So we're like, what, paying more taxes? Okay, like that's going to help anything. I don't see how that's going to help. To be perfectly honest, I don't know much about government, and if someone wants to give me a civics lesson, I will gladly.
1 minute.
So that's just my thought, and I just felt like I just felt weird to come up here because I'm a Harris County citizen, I'm an American citizen. I have the right to speak my mind, and this is what I'm doing. And another thing is, why are we even here? Like, if the majority of people voted no, why are we here? Like, why is this even a question? Like, why are we supposed to keep beating the dead horse? We all want how much time do I have, Victory?
20 seconds.
Okay, well, that's kind of yeah, vote no, please vote no. I want to keep Harris County because neither county it is, and I really don't want us looking at my neighbor's house. That's very disgusting. So, thank you.
Road 10 miles from the proposed property. Question for you, Becky.
Sir, could you, speak a little closer to the mic?
Sure. Harry Bannister, 1082 Kennan Road, 10 miles from the proposed subdivision. Question for you. One of the things Mr. Erickson said was that it was declined by the Planning Commission, but approved by the staff. Was there a vote after the fact? The staff recommended forward? Okay, so the staff did. One of the things that was also mentioned was going back and presenting again, not in a public forum, but possibly in a private forum. I think it would be in the best interest that it always be in a public forum and not kind of off the record. So I recommend no vote on this.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Anthony Giordano. I live at 135 Hickory Hill Drive, and I'm about as far as you can get from this proposed thing.
Is that Harris?
Yes, I'm all the way into, I think you're my guy, ain't you? Anyway, let me give you a little bit of history, and this relates to what we're talking about. Back in, you living in a condo complex, and the lift station, it dies. And your condo just happened to be one that's kind of next to it. And all the sewage coming down the hill fills up the lift station, and it's going into your condo. And so then you hope you planned a big water valve to cut off, because course, that's the only way to stop the stuff from flowing, is to cut the water off. And that means nobody has water till you buy lift pumps. And who's paying for these lift pumps? Is the taxpayers? Once he's all done, they left. That's my question to you all. Who's paying for the lift pumps? Who's paying for that sewage going to Muskogee County? Okay, but let's go back to the stopped up lift pumps. They quit, and they're redundant, but they both quit. Who's inspecting them? Who's paying that cost? And if you want to know, it's a real world case. Happened right here in Harris County at the backwater condos. Okay, no water, and then they have to get the succulent trucks. True story, I'm telling you the truth. It relates to what he's talking about. Because you have the lift stations, not gravity flow. My son works for Thomas Waterworks, by the way. So you have to have the lift of the succulent trucks, and you fill them up, and then you let water go to people's condos for a little bit, and then once the succulent truck's full, and you have to cut water off, and nobody gets any water, so you get lift pumps in, which took days. Okay? So that's real world. But the reason I'm here, I live on the W.D. Layfield estate. How much time I got to you?
1 minute.
1 minute. I live on the W.D. Layfield estate. It's my wife's family. Been there for 100, 200 years. And I was charged, being an elder, to protect the family property. I respect my elders. I hold them in high regard. And this is not what my family wanted for Harris County, going back hundreds of years. They wanted it to be like what we have now. And I respectfully request that all of you vote no.
My name is Charles Hunsaker, it's Hunsaker. I live at 2 Red Fox Court in Catawba. I'm approximately 2 miles away from this debacle. No matter what Mr. Erickson says, homes on quarter-acre lots will not support themselves with tax revenue. You heard Mr. Boykin just a few minutes ago talk about a UGA study. University of Georgia Business Department is what advises the entire state of Georgia on economic issues, and they show that in not a single case that they looked at did residential development generate sufficient revenue to cover the associated expenditures. I don't know where he got his numbers, but that's the University of Georgia that's telling us that. Sewage pumping facilities like the one planned on this project routinely fail. It only takes a Google search to see countless examples. It is not if this facility will fail, it is when it fails, sending raw sewage out onto the property. And it's interesting to note that it's next to the playground where the children will be playing when they get out of their portable classrooms. These homes are across the road from a quarry that is less than 50% utilized. Homes in Cocoa Lake, which are farther away, are damaged from quarry blasting. Mine was damaged from blasting, and I'm in the far back part of Cocoa Lake. Homes as far away as Almond Plantation in Muskogee County are also impacted. Would you improve homes that are built in a flood area or near a potentially crumbling cliff or below an earthen dam that would fail? A developer gets his money and then goes to Destin to drink margaritas on the beach. The homeowner is the one left dealing with the problem. Your job is to protect people from having to deal with problems like that. This project ought to be renamed the Harris County Horror Story. Here's the bottom line. I had the privilege of working for U.S. Congressman Matt Collinsman. He was beloved in this area. Why? Because he always represented and fought for the best interests of the people who live in the district. He repeatedly said that he always voted for the people in our district, and he might even vote differently if he was in another district. As you look at the vote tonight, realize 83% of Harris County voters said they do not want homes on quarter-acre lots. You continue to hide behind the fact that R1 still has a 2-acre requirement, but every single voter in the county knows that the vote meant no homes on less than 2 acres. Your planning commission, people you appointed, voted 5-0 to deny this request. Look around and see the people attending tonight. You will betray the people and the other people in Harris County if you vote for this project. People in your position are called public servants. You are servants employed by all residents of Harris County to do what is best for the county. This project is not in anyone's best interest except the developer. You have a choice tonight, and I urge you to make that choice. No vote on this request. Thank you.
Got your time started. My name is Michael Handy. I live at 111 White Oak Trail in Catala. I'm approximately 5 miles from the development. I don't have any fancy statistics like this down my head. I'm not as eloquent as Mr. Giordano. But I was born and raised in Columbus. 1955. Today's my birthday. I saw Columbus go from a sleepy little town to an absolute horror story. And I still have a business in Columbus. If I could sell that piece of commercial property, I'd exit Muskogee County in a heartbeat. I came to Harris County in the mid-90s because of this rural feel. And I've known a lot of builders in my time. I've been around a lot of construction as well. And there's only one thing that I can conclude, I can draw from this thing, is that if you take an acre lot or a 2 acre minimum and reduce it down to a 4 acre lot, you can build I got my time. You can build 4 to 8 houses on a 2 acre or 1 acre minimum, and it just means more money in the developer's pocket. We respectfully request that y'all decline this rezoning proposal.
My name is Linda Rutland, R-U-T-L-A-N-D. I live at 300 Cannon Road. I've been in Harris County for 25 years now, and I moved into Plantation Creek. And we had builders who built there, and they had a plan, and they told the homeowners what their plan was. And there was going to be an entrance off of Cannon Road, and there was going to be another entrance off of River Road. Guess what? Not only did they not do what they told us, they built another subdivision in there, and they're still only one entrance. I lived in the back. And when the storms came and knocked the trees down, we were blocked in until somebody was going to cut the trees. Developers develop for their own gain. They had a homeowners association that they wrote the rules for, and they did not abide by them. When they left, they had broken every rule, and the homeowners were left with their crap. I ask that you do not give them the right to build on 4 acre lots in our county, because they have already changed their plan tonight. He's got a flip chart. Come on.
This new, property will be built, it still is going to affect our county as a whole, no matter what. And as a person who lives in the school system, I really just disagree with the idea of adding more homes to already see that there's classrooms that are already having 30 kids apiece in each room. And it's really not going to help financially when we need to build a new school for something we can contain on our own. And I just want to add, do y'all have grandkids? I just want to know. Your future generations are going to live in this land after everyone is gone. And you're going to let them grow up in a place where there's not going to be as much as what y'all used to have. That is going to affect them more than it will affect you. Each minute and every hour, we lose over 1,000 acres. I just want y'all to remember that. Okay? I just wanted to say
Yes, George Moore. I live at 41 Savior Lane in Hamilton, 15 miles away. So it's just, we start talking about facts. It's just facts. Something was said on the 11K. The road was built for 11,000 cars to travel on. That's right, it was built for that. But I think I saw Mr. Robinson from Robinson Pavement here. It's built for that. But if you put 11,000 cars on it, you got a problem. You're spending still. If everybody gets up out of here and leaves right now, come around school leaving, and you'll see what I mean about it. Just because it's built for 11,000 doesn't mean you want to put 11,000 on it. Something was mentioned tonight that was kind of went under the last meeting, was that water coming from Columbus. Once it gets here, we pick up the cost for maintaining that water at that pumping station or ever how they put it in. That was brought up during the last thing. So these are things just keep in mind. Just because 11,000 doesn't mean it's realistic. That water, we'll pay for it. He'll get it here, and he'll leave, and we'll pay for it. Tax from businesses, I keep hearing that. The businesses is going to get the tax dollars in Columbus because it's going to leave and show you line. Driving to Columbus, do what you do, come back to Harris County. You're not spending a dime in Harris County. You're taking it all to Columbus and just adding the burden here because we have to do that. Talk about 20 houses per year. It says it's 10 years. That's 200 houses. You got it. Pretty easy math. If you do that, you'll crash that project and it'll never get off. He can't afford to only build 20 houses per year because at one point or another, he's going to put HOA to own that place. And to do that, you can't just build 20 houses a year because usually HOAs turn over about 85%. I don't know what his recommendation is for turning it over, but we might want to look at
1 minute.
And talking about traffic. I don't know if you go to Columbus a lot or not. I work on Fort Benning, live here in Hamilton, so I drive through that gauntlet every day. And if you had, I don't know, if you had 10 cars on it, to me it's a traffic jam because it's pretty heavy. So again, it goes back to that, just because it's built for 11,000, let's not put 11,000 on it just to test it, because I don't think it'll hold up. And again, about the HOA, just remember that
30 seconds.
when you're told 20 houses a year, that HOA, he's trying to turn it over so he can take his money. And it's a business thing, I understand. He's wanting to take his money, rightfully so, but he's not going to do it for 10 years. He's going to try to do it a lot quicker than that, because that's what we all want to do business.
Thank you. Next.
Good evening. Chad Kessler, 224 Maggie Way. Probably about 12, 15 miles, I guess.
Thank you, sir.
I'm not going to come up here to beat a dead horse. We all, traffic, taxes, etc. I think we all get it. What I'd ask, number one, and I don't know if it's been publicly put out, has there been an environmental impact study done? Is that not a requirement for a large development? Is that before you even break ground, have an environmental impact study? Mr. Erickson? Don't answer. Okay, second thing. Has anyone gone into one of Mr. Erickson's homes? You don't have to answer this, I mean, you can. What I would say is, and not just a tour that he gave you through his model homes, okay? Go to one of these subdivisions that he puts up, and I'll piggyback off the last gentleman, it is not 20 houses in a year. All right, he's going to get in there and he's going to fill these things up. He's going to put up a house in 30 days. In reality, you're supposed to let the concrete set for 30 days before you even put lumber on it. It never happens. I know it doesn't. I've been in construction just about my whole life. My dad was a carpenter. My grandpa was a home builder. Your houses are garbage. Minimum code, which a lot of your stuff is not. Some of it is, but a lot of it is not. All right, is not best practices. In construction, there is minimum code and there's best practices.
This is just plain salt. You're not talking about the property.
It is talking about the property. You want to do the bill for that property.
Yes.
Hey, my name's Connie.
Let me remind the public again that this is a public meeting for which the public is entitled to, has been allowed to address this commission.
Now, part of the basic rules are, if you address the commission, they listen to you, and they're gonna take what you say into consideration and make an informed decision. Comments making back and forth between and point fingers at the developer or others, making snide comments is not the way to address this particular issue. Address the Zoom issue directed here. The board will listen to you and ask not to make any shouts, boos, or anything of that nature, and or any disruptive conduct. And that's where we are now. I would suggest, Madam Chairman, that I don't want to have to bring this up again, but that procedure in Georgia is to maintain order in these meetings, and that is what we would ask these. I would ask you to ask.
Yes, sir. And I'm going to ask once again, please be respectful. Please be respectful. That's not enough to ask, and it is not fair to our applicant for you to stand here and talk to him disrespectfully. He has a right to make an application for what he wants to do on his land, and this board will make that decision. Thank you.
My name is Connie Hamby. I live at 111 White Oak Trail, Catawba. I work at the United States Postal Service in Midland, and this area that he's proposing to build these houses on less than an acre lot is going to cause our post office is already overburdened with houses. I run a route, I got 707 mailboxes. So more mailboxes for me means a longer day, more than 4 hours out on the street in the heat, no air, in a mail truck. And I really, I love Harris County and the fact that it is a rural area with not a lot of congestion and a lot of traffic. And that's why we moved to Harris County, and we want to keep it that way. So I just hope that you guys know on this proposal to build more homes.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
My name is Jim Woodridge. I'm one of the 3 large landowners that board this place. And I want to say me and my sisters are dead against this.
Yes, sir. Did you give us your address?
5317 Pierce Chapel Road, Midland,
Okay,
Georgia.
and your land borders this?
My land borders this on Great Rock Road.
Okay, thank you.
And I'm totally against it. And I've lived there 70 years, and I think I've lived there long enough to know what I want and what I don't want. So thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Hi, my name is Petra Cook. I live at 174 Rosie Willis Drive in Midland, Georgia.
Can you speak up just a little bit, please?
My name is Petra Cook,
Thank you.
and I'm on 174 Rosie Willis Drive. And we moved here to Harris County about 1.5 years ago. And the reason why we moved here is this right here. This little girl, she's still in school. I don't know if you know anything about Russell County school systems, but they're not right. I owe my kids the best education that I can give them, and we looked everywhere, researched schools and communities, and this was our best choice. My husband served 20 years in the military. We're now retired. We're still raising a little one, and we know what happens when we put big developments like this near us in our homes. Crime comes with this, overcrowding schools, and who's going to have to suffer? This little girl right here, our kids are going to suffer the consequences of those kind of decisions. Please keep these developments out of here so that our kids can get what they deserve. Please, thank you.
And how far do you live?
About 10 miles from the development.
Thank you.
And we stand about, when I pick up my child from school, it takes me a long time. Morning drop-offs, a long time. Now building our homes, well, it's going to be even longer. So please keep these developments out. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Madam Chairman, my name is George Hazel. I live about 2 miles from the proposal.
Okay, sir, your address, please.
126 Water Way Drive, Catawba.
And your name again, I'm sorry.
George Averill, A-V-E-R-I-L-L.
Thank you, thank you.
And I have a few concerns tonight. My first concern is, how in the world can our commissioners vote to change the zoning that 82% of us said we didn't want? I don't understand that. The other thing is, Madam Chairman, you have a problem here. We've heard one person say, support Dave Erickson. You have a whole auditorium full of people who oppose it. And you can simply cause a short elimination, call your commissioners together, take a straw poll and see who is going to vote against this. And if there is a consensus that you're going to vote against this, go ahead and do it. Or else we're planning to stay here until the sun comes up, and we're going to have to work on the rest of it. I moved here about 20 years ago, and when I did, a good friend of mine named Ray Grant said, George, you can't come into Harris County. We have an unwritten law that every person that moves in, one person has to move out. I understand that completely now. My taxes have gone up every year. We certainly need to have some business in our county that will employ people who live here, but we don't need developments that will increase the population and turn us into Muscogee County. So please vote against it, and please make my recommendation to pause this hearing and decide what you want to do. And if you're going to vote against it, go ahead and get it over with. Otherwise, we're going to be here all night. Thank you.
All right, let me just clear up that there is a legal process that this board must follow and this county must follow. And you have the right to submit an application to rezone your property. Everybody here has that right. And this gentleman has that right, but we must follow the process. Thank you.
All right, well, I hope you'll have many evaluations because we're going to be here a long time.
Yes, sir.
Good evening, ma'am. How you doing?
I'm fine. How are you?
Outstanding, ma'am. My name is Gene Parnell. I live in Cocoa Lake. I'm retired military, like most of us here. I came from Fort Smith. Actually, somebody sold me my house out there, a female out there. And we was promised the same thing. The same thing we're promised here. Commercial buildings, houses will go up, 2 pools, and all that stuff like that. And it sounded great. I bought into it. 9 years later, I took a loss on my house and sold it because of military moving on, renters moving in, and it went bad. Renters don't take care of houses like an owner will. It took guts for Mr. Tate to get up there. I would have said yes too if I closed mortgages. He closed mine. I agree, he did good. But I would do is say yes. I understand Mr. Dave's here to make money. His wife sold me my last house out in Fort Mitchell. I lost my butt on it.
Yes, sir.
Yes, ma'am, I understand. I apologize. But it took me and my wife 2 years to find a place like these people grew up in 25 and 30 years. I didn't grow up from here. I grew up in Indiana, traveled the world in the Army. 2 years, we looked for a place in Harris County. I found one, perfect, for me and my wife in Cocoa Lake. Love it, nice sized lots, don't have to touch my neighbors. Can't even spit on that house, it's so far away. But I think we need to vote no because I am military, or will always be military. Military is where they are. They'll move in, stay there 3 to 4 years. The government moves them, I'm going to rent it again. Make my mortgage. He ain't going to mow my yard. Homeowner association goes away. You know why? I was vice president in the last one. Sorry. I moved. I'm saying, what he's promising, man, is not true. Commercial buildings out there never happen. It's not going to happen here. 1 minute. Please, I beg you, as a brand new homeowner, probably the newest one here, moved here in the last 2 years, September 1st, be 2 years. Please listen to us newbies, but you need to listen to the opens too. Please, no.
So did you give us your address?
Yes, ma'am, 64 Pintail Court.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yes, sir.
My name is Alan Butcher, 400 Burnt Drive. My name is
It's very difficult to hear up here.
Yeah, get a little personal with this microphone. And, my name is Alan Butcher, 400 Burnt Drive, Fortson, Georgia. I am also Vice President of the Fall Line Quarry, which is directly across the street from the proposed property. And as an owner of a business we've been permitted to operate on the property for over 30 years, Fall Line feels it's obligated to point out the subject property is in close proximity to the quarry, which is operating in a heavy manufacturing zoning district. We conduct blasting at our quarry, and much of the truck traffic that hauls processed materials from our quarry to the construction sites in the surrounding areas will drive by this subject property. We therefore believe the area requested to be rezoned is better suited for current zoning than for its proposed use. If the Board of Commissioners, however, deems it appropriate to grant approval, we request that in addition to the rezoning be considered, which would require the developer to notify any property owner of the existence of a quarry operation that conducts blasting on the site and generates traffic. The language that we would propose, and I would request to provide you a copy of this letter for the record. Purchaser of the property hereby acknowledges they're aware of the nearby rock quarry which conducts blasting as part of its normal operation and generates heavy truck traffic. The homeowner may, from time to time, feel vibrations and hear noise from the blasting operation. All blasting is regulated by the State of Georgia Fire Marshal's Office. This notice does not relieve the company operating the rock quarry from operating in a safe manner and within the limits of the Georgia State blasting.
1 minute.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Good evening. My name is Ryan Simpson, 2565 Gray Rock Road. I live on the road. Yes, ma'am. So I just want to first start off and say this is all, to me, it seems like it's all about one thing. And the reality is, in his words, is profit maximization of one man on the cost of the rest of the county. Okay? So he was taking this $200,000, $200 mark. He can easily surpass that with larger lots and more quality homes. He's just trying to squeeze every piece of the land out that he can possibly squeeze out for this development at the cost of the county. Also, along with the traffic, so I don't know who he got to analyze or the analysis of the traffic, but I can tell you that it is used as a cut-through road from Veterans to Manchester Expressway or Solomon Road, however you want to get that way. And you can talk to any one of these deputies or Harris County officers that sit on that road, they can attest that there doesn't need to be more traffic on that road due to speeding, and it's terrible traffic and terrible speeding on that road. That's why they're always there on the regular. Lastly, I graduated from the school in 2008, okay, that was 11 years ago. 11 years ago, I was sitting in my senior class, literature, Dr. Jackson, I don't know if she's still here or not, but we were sitting in a portable action building, okay? So I heard him say, well, you can't use this because there's no solution. Well, you can't add to it because there's no solution either. You know, that was 11 years ago. We were already being pushed out of classrooms. So I don't see how bringing in 200 X homes is going to help the problem of a school that's already filled to capacity 11 years ago. Thank you. Please vote no.
Yes, sir.
My name is Robert Hayes. Live at 63 Wildwood Plantation in College, Georgia. Very simple. We moved from Ohio down here about 3 years ago. We didn't know what part of Georgia, but finally picked out Harris County because of 2.5 reasons. One was taxes, and the other was property sizes. We have a 2-acre lot. And I do not wish to have this thing approved what he wants to do here. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Hi, my name is Jill Moore. I live at 31 Old Chimney Drive in Midland, about 6 or 7 miles, I'm guessing, from this.
That is an issue.
It is not I also own property on Kings Gap Road in Pine Mountain Valley. My intention within the next few years is to leave my current residence to build a home on this property in Kings Gap Road, about 100 acres. So if this proposal is allowed to go through, then what's to keep my next door neighbor in Kings Gap Road from developing 100 acres next door to where I want to raise my family on my family farm? Perhaps the commission could consider replanning their future Harris County development strategy to meet the needs of the county residents.
Yes, my name is Debbie Bowman. I live at 129 Hunter Road, College, Georgia. A lot of people have commented today on what's important to them, but I would say what's important to me is first responders. My husband is an EMS first responder in Harris County. He's worked in Columbus. I've seen what the toll takes on his body when he runs calls all night long. In Columbus, sometimes there is 0, no ambulances. And if we have all this development coming out here, more people coming out here, these first responders are already worn down to the ground. It's just going to get worse and worse. And then we won't have anybody there to help out the citizens who really like living out here. So my most important thing is my husband, my family, the first responders, and the residents of Harris County. We've heard from one person, but we've also built heard from all these people, and we all voted no. Okay, and how far do you live?
I live at 129 Hunter Road.
Okay, now
It's about,
just a general.
it's right off, I live right off Highway 315.
Yes, sir.
Josh Allen, Ollie Allen. We're about 5-6 miles from it, 16400 Georgia Highway 315. Not up here to give a long speech, but up here so you hear my voice like you see my vote. We oppose.
Yes, sir. Next.
My name is John Guerrero. I live at 347 East Moraine Road. I worked for UPS for 30 years. So I know what it is to drive around in traffic. I've lived up here in Harris County for 6 years, and I seen the change in 6 years of traffic. I run every route in Columbus, Georgia, and 50-mile radius around Columbus. I moved here in 1994. To make a long story short, when I was delivering out the rural down in Marion County, also down there in Webster County, it was like a depressed area. And I always ask the question, why don't you improve? Why don't you get businesses to come in here? You got lots of land. Hey, improve the place. Give it a place for people to work. You know what the answer was all the time? We want to keep it rural. We want to keep it rural. Not until I bought in Harris County did I realize what they want. And that's what I want. And I see see the traffic because I live on East Bon Acre Road. It comes out on Grady Rock Road. Richmond comes into East Bon Acre Road. So I can foresee when they put all those homes in, traffic will go the other way to Warren Springs Road. You'll have a problem at East Bon Acre Road running into it. So before you know it, you got service trucks, other trucks coming in there for deliveries. Before you know it, you got traffic jams on each end of that road and right there into East Bon Acre Road. You'll have a traffic jam because the traffic will move from those homes. And,
Approximately how far is yours?
about 2 miles. I go down East Bon Acre Road.
Thank you.
In the Great Rock. So I know, I see the traffic, so I know what he's talking about. I see the traffic all the time.
My name is Megan Gunther, Guenther. I live at 111 Hamilton Mulberry Road in College, which is about 6.8 miles away from the development. In April of 2018, I attended a planning commission meeting. This is going to go towards Mr. Erickson's points. Sheriff Jolly was in attendance, and he talked about a UGA study where one uniformed officer is supposed to be allotted for every 2,000 citizens. With the Harris County Sheriff's Department and the Hamilton Police Department and police stations, he said on average, there's about 14 to 16 uniformed officers at a time on duty. Now, at the time, this was last year, and we've built over 200 homes since then, 34,000 citizens were in the county, and that left us with a shortage already of 1 to 2 officers short. Also in attendance at that meeting, the EMS was there. They talked about how we had 4 stations and 473 square miles.
2 minutes.
And there was often times that the EMS did not have enough ambulances. Someone just spoke about that. There's often a shortage and there's tide. And the volunteer fire department also talked about how they were seeing a large increase in calls last year from the previous year. Yes, Mr. Erickson pointed out that we are not getting any larger. We will remain 473 square miles. But we are building more homes, and with more homes come more people, and comes with more traffic, which makes the traffic mean the distance longer, and there will be more calls. We do not have money in our budget. We increased our budget, and we just increased our millage rate just a couple weeks ago. We've decreased our budget. We are increasing our houses by 200, an average of 200 homes a year, but we do not have money to pay our employees a fair wage. We also do not have money in our budget to employ more sheriffs, to hire more EMS or ambulances, or to pay a fire department. Eventually, this is going to shift the gears of our county. The comprehensive plan has been pointed out multiple times, and I attended many of those meetings. The plan in 2019 is pretty much the same as 2014, except for you eliminated the thing that said we wanted to keep Harris County like it is. I wanted to point out that Mr. Woods pointed this out, that we have very old ordinances, and I've been asking since February of 2018 for us to change. I've also been bringing up impact fees. This is what Harris County does to approve development, and then Harris County and Troop does multiple pages where they talk to the communities, they talk to the schools, they talk to the EMS, they talk to water, and we don't do that here. We cannot continue to approve development in this county, and I will repeat this until I'm blue in the face, until we change our ordinances and until we are prepared in this county, and that is on the shoulders of you to change the ordinances and the way we look at and approve development. Please vote no until we update. Thank you.
My name's Todd Allen. I live at 14400 Georgia Highway 315, Arkansas, Georgia, about 7.1 miles from this proposed development. If this proposal doesn't raise concern, you have to listen to what Mr. Erickson said. It's not consistent with the comprehensive plan, no matter what he says. He's using numbers based on the current budgets, and that's simply ignorant and manipulation of numbers to make it seem like it's okay. It doesn't include our increased budget for more officers. It doesn't include the new fire department that we have to put in, or any school concerns. He stated that development would give us a net positive of $20,000 to $30,000 per year. How many officers does that get us? I can tell you the answer to that. It's none. How many teachers? And the strain that this development would give is is just beyond what our county can take right now. I beg you, vote no, deny this proposal. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
My name is Doug Mullen Jr. I live at 1385 Gray Rock Road. I can throw a rock and hit this.
I'm sorry.
Can y'all hear me now? Yeah. All right. Do I need to repeat that? Y'all able to hear?
Last name.
Mullen, B-U-L-L-E-N. Okay, you're very welcome. I know it's been a long week for y'all, a long couple of weeks. It has been for myself as well. A lot of people in our community with the stress over this and what's coming to our town. I ain't got honesty and fiction as well. In the interest of time, I just want to point out a few things without just beating a dead horse into the ground. We have heard all the same things time and time again. I don't look at this as redundancy. I look at this as the citizens putting an exclamation point on how important this issue is to our community and to our county. Nobody has, except for one person in this room, has been able to give one single way that this development is advantageous for Harris County. We've heard and continue to hear from people, almost of them experts, how our infrastructure simply can't handle it. We've heard about the quarry, the 18 to 24 tons that go up and down the road every day, that's what I'm told. A one-day traffic counter that's put out one day is not an active count of how many cars go up and down Gray Rock Road. The burden that goes put on it. First responders, fire department, I mean, it's, we go on and on the same things. I'm exceedingly concerned about the lift station that will be gifted to us. I've done my research, as been spoken about tonight, and when this fails, when it fails, it'll also be at the county's expense. I'm not against development, but I feel like it does need to be done in a way that's right for our county. And it's a good fit. I believe we need to revisit our ordinances and figure out how to do this the right way. I have been asked my stance on development, and truthfully, and people have asked me if it has to do with my proximity with the developer. The answer is no. Even if it was a regular builder, and it was built on the other side of the county, I would still be against it. We need to figure out a way to do it and do it right. Truthfully, I'm going to go ahead and sum up. I'm not saying this, and I believe this is really a cut and dry decision. The citizens have shown their overwhelming support.
30 seconds.
And the planning commission has shown their disapproval for it. We have been given facts. There is no positive impact for our county. How in good conscience can anybody vote in favor of something that only has a negative impact on our county and its citizens? Thank you.
My name is Bill Berry. I live at 606 Denny Road.
Could you give us your last name?
Berry, B-E-R-R.
Berry, okay, Bill Berry.
I live at 606 Denny Road, off 315, approximately 5 miles from this development.
Thank you.
When I came in here today, and our friends, and I hope when I leave, we're still friends. However, I'm going to ask you to vote against this variance. I'm not going to rehash so much stuff that's already been said, but I will say a couple of things. Number one, about the traffic. Excuse me. I travel Highway 27 every day to go to Columbus. If you hit that at the wrong time, it's about like going through Atlanta, Georgia. As we know, our roads are always behind buildings to take care of the traffic. And when we're going to extend 27 on up to the top, but we'll always be behind on our roads.
2 minutes.
I want to point out 3 things that the county has, and I believe every one of these areas that I'm going to talk about are in the county. We've got Melody Lakes. You tell me how nice and pretty that is, and what the builders said when they built that. We've got Mulberry Estates. I remember when that was built. I remember what the builder said about that. What do we have there now? We've got Pine Lake up in Bryce. I was one of the investors that bought a lot up there. And I was lucky somebody more foolish than me came along and bought it from me. If this development is going to be as glowing in the minds of Dave Citizen, I'm really surprised. He doesn't move out of Cook Lake. He moved over there. Thank you. My name is Hank Smith. I live at 2449 Hudson Circle. It's about 10 miles from Richmond. And I raised 2 kids here. I do travel 27 every day. The other day I almost got just trying to get out on 27. So I got one more. My wife works for Columbus, for the government in Columbus. And this is one of the reasons I moved to Harris County. You never see this at the Columbus Council ever. This is passion from all these people, and I just would urge y'all, listen to them, to vote against it. And then on the other thing, I've never heard of a sheriff, as he said, say, I got plenty of people, that he's got plenty of deputies. I don't believe that. I've never heard one say that, so I just want to stay on it. Thank you all.
Is there any
Good evening. I'm Tony Lane, 1693 Gray Rock Road, Midland. I live about just a little bit further than Oak Duck back there. And again, we've had a lot of conversation about things. And in the Planning Commission, I talked about an issue of the roads. And we've a lot of comments about that tonight. I'm not sure who did the original 11,000 per vehicle per day estimate, but they haven't ridden on that road for a while. I ride that road, I drive on that road every day. I ride my bike on that road every day. About a quarter mile away from, probably about where the entrance, I don't see the thing, but there's a curve and hill right there. And I've been run off the road. My son-in-law Doug has been run off the road. It's hard to tell how many other people have been run off this road. Gray Rock Road is a narrow roads been beat up by the trucks. If you get on, I ride my bicycle on, and it's like riding on a washboard. It just beats you to death. Again, there's I will tell you that the traffic does not recognize no passing zones. And again, I can't emphasize enough about that curve and that hill, which is within probably 200-300 yards of the corner of this property. That people will be going around there. It's a blind curve. The road structure is pivotal, and I really believe that if we're going to have an additional, as Mr. Erickson said, an additional 1,000 cars per day, which, you know, that's enough to put a burden on the road and the people who are using that road. So for the safety of everybody that drives that road, I think it's imperative that the county get their own assessment of the condition of that road. It has no ditches. If you have to go off the side of the road, particularly right there in the area where this development is, there's no ditch that you can drive off into. You're going to go off into a narrow ditch and hit a tree. So the county needs to do a significant assessment of the impact and capabilities of that road to handle any more traffic. So I hope y'all consider that. Bye.
Good evening. I'm David Norman from 112 Buckhead, raised in Borson. About 12 miles or so from the development. And I don't want to take much of your time. I just want to talk about a couple of things that were said at the Planning Commission meeting and the previous council meeting. I came from Houston, Texas about 18 months ago, and we had a development come into our rural county there with quarter-acre lots. And just like I expected to do here, it overwhelmed the school system there and a lot of the county services. At the Planning Commission meeting, we heard from the Board of Education and the Tacoma Fire Department that they cannot handle the influx of residents in the proposed development. It seems like that should stop the whole thing in its tracks right there. Also, I would expect the taxes would go up. And just like to point out, congestion goes two ways, not just Columbus, But since we have one high school and one middle school, that's going to also add to congestion in Hamilton going the other way with those cars. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
My name is Kathy Fairclough. I live on Hunter Road, just off 315 in Catawba. I Googled it a while ago. I think I'm about 12 miles from the proposed place. I've never been to a council meeting, but I feel strongly enough about this that I have to be at work tomorrow morning at 7 o'clock, but I'm still here. I do not want a residential area that compact in Harris County. I've been here 25 years. I too, like everyone else has said, I like the way it's laid out. I like it where it's got a country feel. Every once in a while I see deer, I see rabbits. I like that. Or I would live in Columbus. If I wanted to live in a subdivision, I would have stayed in Columbus. It's a little bit like trying to drink a 16-ounce Coke out of an 8-ounce glass by pouring it in all at one time. It's too much for the county to take all at one time. I don't want to see our children in little trailers going to school. I don't think we can handle that influx all at one time.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Jason Jackson, 142 Graceland Trail, 3 months. Jason Jackson. Yeah, everybody knows where Woolridge Road comes into 27. The guy that lives across from it, he doesn't even repair his fence anymore when it comes to accidents. And people pull out there terribly. Speak up! Woolridge Road, the guy that lives across the street doesn't even repair his fence anymore because there's so many accidents right there. Because there's not even 200 houses that they put in recently. He's talking about 200 residences. So it's going to be a whole lot worse.
Hello, my name is James Chambers. I live at 250 Deer Run Drive, Jonesville, Georgia. We moved here about 3 months ago. We were in Muskogee County. What's that again?
Your address?
250 Deer Run Drive, Jonesville.
It's about
What's that?
distance.
10, 10? So that sounds about right. I'm here. I want to go real short. I ask you to vote no until the proper checks, balances, and studies are done. Until June of this year, as I told you, I lived in Garrett Creek subdivision, 8 minutes south of Muskogee County. 15 years ago, we were promised a playground and tennis courts, similar to what this development was being promised. It was never written into the contract, so we just got out of it. We had uniformity rules in the covenants where the houses had to be 80% brick. Those were violated 3 years ago. We were overridden as a HOA. We put things in the houses, but we were overridden with the threat of rezoning due to, and also supermajority rates. We did not have those which are within the HOA covenants. Like this new neighborhood, we were promised a rural field with a canopy of trees that surrounded our neighborhood. As of the beginning of this year, all of those trees, well, 99% of those trees were cut down. See for yourself. The developer reached the maximum. He purchased all the property. I think we're at like 700 homes. He cut those trees down. That promise was never kept. Our neighbor, right next to us, about 500, 600 homes. Within 1 year of building that neighborhood on Calumet Drive, the first one that came through took out the road. Today, they can still not drive on Calumet Drive. There's only 1 or 2 entrances to that. 1 minute. So I ask you, what will happen? I mean, what are you guys going to do to guarantee that developers keep to their word? And not only that, but properly develop their neighborhoods. Do you have a plan? Thank you.
Y'all know who I am.
We need it for the records.
Chief White from the Ellerton Volunteer Fire Department. Saddle Brook Trail, Ellerton. development, maybe 10 miles. But I cover it with my fire truck along with it taller. My question is, who done the pre-fire plan? You start dropping that many houses that close together, the first one that catches on fire, you got the next two on fire. During the daytime, we ain't got enough people, y'all know that very well. By the time we get from where we are to this development, the first house catches the next one and the next one, it can burn the whole neighborhood down before we can even think about getting enough people there. We're here to protect life first, property second. If that house catches on fire and we can't get there on time, somebody's getting killed. That's point blank. You can talk about money, you can talk about food stations and all the stuff you want to talk about, but ultimately, it's life. Now, we're limited, we don't get paid, we're all volunteers like everybody knows we are. I work my butt off in that tornado that come, and everybody else will too if we have a fire. But that far away is nothing but a recipe for disaster if the first house catches on fire that close together. So I'm just telling you how it is. If it all burns down in front of you, don't blame us. Because we're going to try all we can, but it's subject to happen. If they're that close, 10 feet apart, radiant heat will set on fire automatically. So I just say, I know there's going to need to be development, and I ain't against development. But that close together, build your neighborhood. Put one house on 1 acre, one house on 2 acres. I can get along with that. When you stack that many people, I've got to worry about getting in these neighborhoods with my fire trucks and every car that's sitting in the driveway and every little kid that's running through there, we were just trying to get by, not running over, to go save another little kid somewhere. So you get all this congestion and then you throw all them fire trucks in there with it, and you got a big old mess of somebody's fixing to get killed, and that ain't in my book. So I'm just saying, hey, let's move on to something else, spread them out a little better, maybe build some more houses somewhere else, but don't throw them all together. Because when it burns, it's going to burn. And it will set every one of them on fire before we get there. That's all I got.
Kurt Peckoff, P-E-C-H, Kurt, C-U-R-T, last name Peckoff, P-E-C-H, okay. Papa Echo, Charlie Hotel, Lima, Oscar, Foxtrot. I live at 19 Kingston Street in Fortson. I'm approximately 20 miles away. Just like Skip, I'm a member of the local volunteer fire department. We'll be responding to this. I'm also a career firefighter, so I want to explain something to you that you may not understand. He's talking about putting houses on a quarter-acre lot. An acre of land is 208 by 208, so approximately 200 by 200. He's talking about houses that are 40 by 50 foot square. 50 by 50 is a quarter acre. That being said, these new houses are built out of engineered wood products, fabricated through bonding and glue type materials. So it's not conventional wood like we're used to. In the 70s and 80s, we had plenty of time to get to a fire and deal with it. We had approximately 17 minutes. Today we have 3 to 4 minutes. Our average response time in this county is 15 minutes. As Skip said, these houses are going to burn. We're going to have constant issues with them. And another issue that we need to look at, in 2 seconds, the distance between buildings and the needed fire flows. If the buildings are more than 30 feet apart, you need 500 gallons a minute to be able to handle that fire. When the buildings are 10 to 20 feet apart, you need 1,000 gallons a minute to handle that fire. That's more than what we've got in our fire trucks today. So we need to look at what this is going to cost us, and we need to remember that one of these days, what's going to happen when those volunteers don't respond.
My name is George Kiss, 386 Grey Rock Drive, 1.8 miles away according to Google from Liverpool. And I just want to repeat some things about George Kiss, K-I-S is the last name. Right? And I've been a resident here for about 7.5 years. Second home in Harris County. Moved from another property in Harris County. And the reason we moved here, or stayed in Harris County, was because of the rural nature. It was also encouraged that about over 80% of the people voted to have a significant amount of acreage as well to preserve the rural community that we love. And now, I think what we're doing is we're going to add the traffic. and to crime, and to also unknown costs that are associated with this. I mean, if we take a look at this $29,000, that's pretty razor thin. So what if we need roads repaired? What if the lift station doesn't work? We have to repair it. What if we need additional police? What if we need additional schools? Who's going to pay for all of this? And then the property taxes that have been bantered about here, we know that there's going to be a shortfall of that. So who's going to be responsible? And if the houses are not maintained, if there is damage from the rock quarry, okay, other things like that, then who's going to be responsible? It's going to be all of us in here that have to step up and pay for that. Well, frankly, you know, I understand development, I understand property taxes and things, but also there's a point where we have to draw a line, and enough's enough with this too, and to do things in a very smart way, that we preserve our community, and we also have this rural nature that we all want here preserved for future generations. Vote no. Thank you.
All right, good evening. My name is Fritz Autenright. That's F-R-I-T-Z. Last name is A-U-T-E-N-R-I-E-T-H. With that, I've already lost a minute. I live at 72 White Pine Drive. I'm about 8 miles away from the development that they're talking about. I think a whole lot of things have been said today. I live in an Erickson home. My prayers would be answered if he bought that home back from me. Every time I've had an issue with that home, it's always been who was the builder. You name the builder, and they're automatically, you know, there's going to be issues with it. What I'd like to know is what a $300,000 house on a quarter acre looks like. And how many, you know, 200 of those, what is that going to look like? You know, I don't think anybody in this room is opposed to anybody moving to Harris County. We've been here for about 5 years. I'm retired military. This is where we wanted to come. Get your 3 or 4 acres or 40 or 50, put a house on it and enjoy it. You know, I enjoy grass, I enjoy the trees, I enjoy everything else. I don't want 200 houses in one little spot that's just going to congest everything. And if this gets approved, he's going to find another area where he can do it again, and pretty soon Harris County is going to become Erickson County. Because all he does is build, 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 build. So please vote no to this.
Is there anyone else who would like to speak after this gentleman?
My name is Joaquin Maldonado, Joaquin. Last name Maldonado, Maldonado. I'm in 18 Pinewood Way, Tall, Georgia. I'm priced about 1.5 miles away from this development that is proposed. I would recommend that you say no to the development. When you increase the development by 200 homes, it's being projected at this point in time, that's 800 cars coming in and out of that property, going into a 2-lane road, which is Gray Rock Road. That 2-lane road does not have the capacity to be able to support that much traffic all at one time going through, either going into Columbus or coming up to Harris County. It really doesn't make any difference. That T intersection when you reach Highway 27 and Gray Rock Road, you're going to have to consider what lights you're going to need to put into that in order to be able to allow traffic to flow safely from one point to another, because otherwise it becomes a complete traffic hazard going in either direction. I've spent 5 to 10 minutes waiting for cars to go through just to be able to get on Highway 27, going off of Gray Rock Road, as it currently is. You add an additional 800 cars into it, it makes it impossible. So that needs to be part of your consideration also. And I don't think a study has been done. Nothing was proposed by the developer in order to be able to perform any kind of a site survey for lights or stop signs that would go into that site in order to be able to make traffic safe. That's all.
Thank you. Next.
Hey, Linda Dawson, 1265 O Street, Hamilton. Pineapple Valley's what, 12 miles away? Not real sure. Didn't know I was supposed to measure that. Anyway, I'm opposed to this development because you simply cannot afford it. You are not in a position to take on more debt, not the kind and amount this will create. Additional county employees in Brian Williams Community Development Department, Mike Brown's Public Works Department, I assume you would adopt the streets in this PRD, an additional garbage truck and driver in Ronnie Duke's Solid Waste Department, an additional deputy in Mike Jolly's Sheriff's Department, another ambulance and crew for Bucky Searcy, and the list goes on and on. You just voted to raise taxes to hopefully give your current employees raises in order to keep them from going to other counties who pay more. So how do you think you can afford to pay additional employees and buy more equipment? And it's more than salaries, it's benefits too.
2 minutes.
On this PRD, the developer is allowing for a certain amount of retail, but where? We couldn't see it because we were sitting behind it. Is it all in Harris County? If not, then that's a no-go. I can't imagine you'll approve this, but if you do, why don't you require him to build and get signed contracts on the retail prior to the first house being built? I know you did this in the past with the proposed development at the corner of Highway 208 and 27th. One commissioner told me he's concerned about all the driveways emptying out onto Gray Rock Road if it's developed as a 2-acre lot. Could you work with the developer to put in a frontage road with limited numbers of outlets? Just a thought. I believe there are smart ways to develop our county as we grow, and we must think before we act. Don't let developers tell us what we're going to get. Growth is inevitable. Let's be cautious and wise about it. Encourage smart growth.
My name is Tracy Graves, Graves. I live on Lower Blue Springs Road, probably 20 miles from this development. I chose Harris County to raise a family because of its rural nature. I have a problem with the need for this meeting when your planning commission has already made a decision. The planning commission was put in place by you to do the detail work so that you could put a vote. If the planning commission has a problem with it, and the rest of your community has a problem with it, then we surely hope that you have a problem with it.
Hi, my name is Rachel Elliott. I live at 1111 West Bon Acre Road in Catawba, 3.1 miles from the area they're discussing development. I am here on the point, not of statistics, but just the preservation of life and a way of life in Harris County. My family's been in this county almost 200 years, so I think I have the right to request that you do say no to this. I have a son who went through the Harris County school system, did quite well, and I'm just so happy to come home every day to peace and quiet. I have to go from or through some kind of chaos somewhere, but I know in Catawba there's peace and quiet in my home, and I own that property, and I will own it till I die. Please say no. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Linda Elstott. I live at 412 Gilling Road in Ellerslie, approximately 8 miles or so.
Thank you.
I want to say that I do oppose this and would ask that you vote no on it. And I think all the issues that I'm concerned about have been covered. But I just have a rhetorical question for you. If it was your grandchild that fell and was bleeding bad, and it took 30 minutes to get an ambulance to come and stop that bleeding before they died, would it matter? Of course it would. And so that needs to be in consideration, because times on response do matter. Also, I wanted to talk about the schools. It is very overcrowded. I've raised 2 boys here at Harris County High School, and the oldest one was back in 2003, and then it was crowded. But as of 2018, when my youngest During class change, you could not walk but one direction in the hallway. So it is very overcrowded. And that would mean all our tax money would go up. And so that is a concern. And so I just wanted to voice that I am opposed, and I ask that you vote no.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, good evening. I'm very nervous, so I hope you guys can hear me okay. I live at 386 Grey Rock Drive, 1.8 miles from the construction site. I've lived in Kathleen Henderson. So I lived in Harris County 10 years. A year and a half ago, my sweetheart and I got to build our dream house. We decided to look at some other places. We went to Florida, Georgia, Tennessee, South Carolina. We went everywhere. And all of a sudden, baby, all I either want is a mountain, a lake, or a river or something. One day he came home and said, kiddo, I got this piece of property on Grey Rock I want you to look at. I fell in love with it. We built our dream home. A year and a half later, I'm so afraid now that that's going to change. Everything that everyone's been talking about Harris County, in just a year and a half we've been there, it takes me 10 more minutes to go to work. I just don't want to lose the reason we chose to stay in Harris County. We had a choice to leave the state. We chose to stay here. And the last thing I want to say is, I'm a registered nurse in the emergency department. I've heard what other people have said about first responders. The hardest conversation I have at 3 o'clock in the morning is when we didn't take care of patients because of our response time. That's a conversation I don't want to have with another family member. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Kim Eckert, 4971 Georgia Highway 85. I live about 9.1 miles. Eckert, ECK. Okay, you got that one?
She had to change her.
Okay. Maybe it's time to vote. Kim Eckert, 4971 Georgia Highway 85, and it's about 9 miles from the development. And my question is, who wants to live in a $300,000 house on a quarter acre with HOA traffic that only if you drove out there on a Sunday morning would you want to live off that? And they're going to have the taxes in Muskogee County as we have to build more schools. We have to get more fire, we have to get more EMS. Our EMS response times are horrible, and you're talking about adding hundreds, thousands of people. I'd like to know why we're doing this when we haven't seen what the growth has produced for our county. We're talking about everything that is in the future. It's happening now, and then we're going to compound it, and we don't even know what the consequences are from a subdivision of this magnitude. So before I ask you think about this, maybe the whole thing needs to be tabled until you figured out what is going to go on with the subdivision that's like this situation. I also want to say that I'd like to make sure, and I'm glad that a lot of people answered the snarky, illogical, and untruths that were presented with the presentation that went on. There will be more traffic. There will be need for more schools, our fire departments, and EMS. So please, please think about what's going to happen in the future after we deal with the growth before we get into another big situation we can't handle. Thank you.
After this meeting, we're going to take a 10-minute recess before Mr. Anderson's rebuttal, unless there's someone else who wants to speak.
Debbie Graham. I live 9.6 miles away from this. I live at 258 14th Hamilton. I live in what they call half of an Erickson place. What it was is we lived in a subdivision. Can you speak up? We lived in a subdivision where they foreclosed on. So there,
making remarks to the board.
so there was open lots, and David Erickson put in there, so you know what happened to our property down there. We had people complain about the people that live in these houses. Second of all, I like how we live. I like that Dollar General is our mall.
Ma'am,
I like it.
please make your
I
remarks to
like
the
the way
board.
we live. I like the way we live. We go to Dollar General. We don't go to Walmart. We call it the mall. But half the time, that's where you meet your neighbors. That's where you see everybody. That's the way we like it. That's all I got to say. We voted for y'all to be up here